What's good, y'all? It's your boy Havoc with Final Round. I'm gonna be all over the place in this one, man. Obviously, I kind of want to make the main theme of this video about Crawford versus Porter, but I have a feeling I'm not gonna be able to stay on topic. But we'll label it that, right? Porter versus Crawford, talk about all that shit. But like I said, I'm gonna go off the railroad tracks here, and I need to make some points because it's really bothering me. I'm trying to be somebody who contributes to saving the sport of boxing. I'm not saying it's dying. I think boxing is well. I think it's alive. There's so many great fights going on, and there's more great fights to be had. But I think as fans, we have and look, although I'm a competitor in the sport, I consider myself a fan as well. And as fans, I think we have an obligation of doing better for the sport, man, because I think we're killing it. We're on our way to killing it. We got the fucking UFC coming up, or it's here already, or whatever you want. Their fans, don't get me wrong, they got some dumb, ignorant ass fans over there too, but they don't seem to shit on their stable of fighters the way we tend to. This is a new channel, you guys. I'm trying to build it up. I'm trying to share my love for this sport. I'm trying to build up this sport because it's a beautiful fucking sport, man. And it has offered, all of y'all know what the sport has offered you, in life. Whether you competed in it or watched it, it's inspired you or give you a sense of entertainment to get away from the bullshit of life. We have to be better, man. As fans, and this is exactly why I created this channel. I'm trying to give a new perspective and a new vibe. Will it build into something? I don't know, but I'm gonna fucking try because once again, I love this fucking sport. It's given so much to me, and I think it's gonna give a lot more to me in the future. So I hope to help educate, or at least give my perspective and open up some other people's eyes. I get online and I'm trying to kind of immerse myself or get a vibe for the online boxing community, or at least the boxing community on YouTube. And I just hear people talking straight ignorant shit, man. And it bothers me. It bothers me. Straight ignorant shit, and talking from an emotional standpoint, and talking with no education. And I understand that not everybody has time to sit down and study this fucking sport, but if there's any sport we should have a little bit more respect for, and a little bit more carefulness in the way we speak about it, it's combat sports, especially boxing. Because these guys that go out there and fight put their lives on the line. They risk it all, man. Even if they fucking quit on their stool in the middle of the fight, there's still a amount of respect we owe these fighters, because they're willing to do stuff that most common men ain't willing to do, even if they quit on their goddamn stool or don't finish a fight. And why do I say this? Well, I was online last night, even on an online panel, and I'm hearing this, I don't even want to say what I think about him, but I'm hearing this dude just disrespect Bud Crawford. Oh, he's overrated, he's not this, he ain't shit, he's scared, he's ducking. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world. If you want to make an argument he's not on the top of your list, that's fine. I get that. I agree. He's 3 on my list. I think he still needs a couple big fights or two, or several, to get on top. I think he can, but he still needs those big fights. That's fair. Okay, if you want to judge it from that perspective. But to say the man's overrated, to say that he's a fraud, he's fraudulent, or to say he's ducking or scared, come on, man. See, I don't judge fights, and all I heard was triangle theories and boxing math, which never adds up. This guy beat that guy, therefore he's gonna beat this guy, and this guy lost to this guy. So, and I'm like, this is the way we are judging our fighters. This is the way we're predicting fights. It doesn't work, you guys. And look, if you're into all the stats and like the records and the resumes and the politics of boxing, this ain't the channel, you guys. This ain't the channel. You know, for me, I speak purely about what I see tactically, stylistically in the ring, and the mentality the fighters are bringing in, and whatever strategy they're indicating that they're going to bring into the fight. Because styles make fights. You can take a guy with 6 losses, right? 6 losses, and maybe not even an impressive resume, and take a guy who's undefeated with a more impressive resume. If this guy matches up stylistically well against this guy, there's a chance this guy could win or even make it an interesting fight. You know, we saw it this past weekend with Anthony Joshua Usyk. I laid out to a T what was going to happen. All the scenarios, why Anthony Joshua was going to go in this fight and he was going to try to outbox a better boxer. Why you don't need to sit there and read into size being the most determining factors. People have said that Anthony Joshua was going to win this fight simply because he was a heavyweight. Come on, you guys. Come on. This is the way. What are we talking about? This is the way we're going to judge fights? Size? We've seen it. We've seen Manny Pacquiao conquer 8 divisions, you know, being undersized, and we're using size to determine this fight. I'm not saying you don't look at it and bring it into context. I'm not saying all that other shit doesn't matter, right? Because I do look at that stuff. But there has to be a solid foundation before you branch out and start bringing that into the picture. Tactics, technique, skill, style, fundamentals. That's what you should be looking at first. And, you know, I saw a better boxer in Usyk. Okay, no, he didn't have names like Klitschko on his resume or, you know, other top heavyweights. I get it, man. Pulev, you know, fucking, you know, Povetkin. Okay, he didn't have those names on his resume. But this dude is a champion. He was undisputed at the cruiserweight division. He's very skilled, very technical. He's a winner. He goes into backyards. He takes your fucking belts. He has the right mentality. He is a heavyweight, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. Well, he is a heavyweight now. I wish people would stop calling him a cruiserweight. He's a heavyweight now. And he's pretty much been a heavyweight his whole life. He's just been cutting down. And you think like the guy hasn't been sparring heavyweights his whole life when he walks around at 240. Cruiserweights are essentially heavyweights, you guys. I'm a light heavyweight and I spar consistently against heavyweights. Hell, there's middleweights that spar heavyweights. Like, you guys, come on here. And you're acting like Usyk was not going to be prepared for this fight, or he was going to face something he's never felt before or experienced. You know, like, come on, you guys. Let's think logically here. You know. But, and the same motherfuckers who picked against or chose Anthony Joshua for the fucking basic ass bitch reasons, you know, are now turning on him and say, oh, he's a punk, he's a bitch, he's a quitter. And it's like, really? First of all, I seen that dude got some dog in his soul, in his heart. That Klitschko fight. I saw that there's a dog in there somewhere. Okay, now can he get that back? I don't know. You know, I don't know, you guys. I'm not saying there's no mental lapses with Anthony Joshua, because there are, clearly. But, you know, I laid out why the guy was going to lose. It's not because he's a bitch. It's not because he's soft. It's not because he's weak or he's not a dog. He came in with the wrong game plan. He overestimated his boxing abilities. For some reason, you know, he makes the right adjustment for the second Ruiz fight, and now he thinks he's Sugar Ray Leonard, and he's losing sight of what got him to the dance. Okay, Ruiz presented you with a very unique style. Once again, look at Ruiz. Like I'm saying, styles make fights. He had a style that presented a lot of issues to Joshua. Okay? And that's okay. Everybody got kryptonite. Okay? But he made the right adjustments. He came back and he won. Now he needs to go back to who he was. He lost sight of who he was, okay? And now he thought he could box. And, you know, part of that is a boxer's pride. Hey, you know, people don't think I can box with this guy. I can box with this guy. That's part of the reason he came in with the wrong game plan. He tried to outbox the better boxer. I don't think he was scared. And he's not a good boxer. He's not a sophisticated level fighter to where he can constantly make adjustments throughout 12 rounds in a fight. It's not his game. You know, be who you are. You're a one-geared fighter. Not even. You're a fundamentally sound Deontay Wilder. That's who you are, Anthony Joshua. And he lost sight of that. Sometimes you just have to accept who you are and, you know, stay in your lane, play your position, okay? And he didn't. And that's why he lost that fight. He's not a bitch. He's not a coward. He's not a quitter. You guys, if this is how the standard of how we're going to judge our fighters, if we're going to sit here and, you know, a guy loses, I don't care if he loses 5 times. There's so many legendary fighters out there that have lost, okay? That have lost or been knocked down, or even by guys who weren't supposed to knock them down. You know, like Ali lost multiple times, been knocked down by some guys that didn't even think he should have been knocked down by. He's still one of the greatest fighters of all time. But if we use this criteria, if we dispose of a fighter after 1 loss or 2 losses or even 10 losses, come on, man. We're killing the sport. We're killing the fucking sport. And you don't see it. Why are these guys going to go out and take risk and give us the fights we want when all we're doing is using this Mayweather standard? You got to be unbeaten. You got to be untouchable. You can't get chin checked. You can't get put down. Of course we're not going to get the fights we want because we don't respect our fighters. And we're judging solely off of an emotional perspective and an uneducated perspective. And that's exactly why we're not going to get the fights we want. Anthony Joshua, I don't care what you say, man. Even if he flakes out and he never manifests to be this great heavyweight champion, if this dude wants to come back and try to redeem himself genuinely, not just for the money, he should be able to. And he might be able to. It's going to be hard, but he might be able to. But say he does. Or let's say he loses to Usyk again. Why can't we see him against Fury? Why can't we see him again? Obviously, there's a lot of politics into that, right? But cut out the politics for a sec. Why not see him against Wilder? Why not let these motherfuckers go round robin? You know, go up against each other. Switch off, man. I don't care if they lose. I still want to fight. See the fight. I don't care about the belts. I don't care about that bullshit, you guys. Y'all talk about belts and rankings, and I don't give a fuck. And politics, no. I just care about fights, stylistic matchups, the skill level of the fighters. And I like to see it put up in the middle of the ring and see how that plays out. But if y'all keep on shitting on these fighters in an uneducated way, it's okay to call them out and, you know, say, hey, man, I don't know. I think there might be mental lapses here. But if we're calling these dudes bitches and cowards and, you know, after they lose a fight, and I don't even give a damn if they lose multiple fights, then, dude, these guys ain't going to take the risk. They ain't going to take the fucking risk. Why? For what? For what? So you can shit on them? They do stuff y'all wouldn't even be able to walk out to the fucking ring. I don't give a fuck if they quit on their stool. The fact that they walked out there and took that risk, put their health on the line, their well-being, that takes some shit, man. That takes a man, nonetheless. You know, are there levels to this game? Yeah. Can we call into question when we're trying to compare a fighter who's supposed to be great to other greats? Sure. But if we're going to come and be critical of these fighters, we need to do it from an educated perspective. I heard the other day some dude just shitting on Bud Crawford. I'm like, are you kidding me? This dude is one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world. He's a style bender. He can do it all. You know, he matches up very well against Crawford. You know, I got to do a little bit more homework and look at the size of the two and compare them and stuff like that. But he matches up well against anybody. Any style you put in front of him, Crawford's going to be fine. Okay? He's going to be fine. He is a very dynamic fighter, and that's what y'all don't get. You're just looking at resumes. What the fuck? I'm looking at how this dude fights. And not just how he fights. I'm looking at all the subtleties of the way he fights. You know, he has multiple gears. Now, a lot of people think that Sean Porter is going to make this fight interesting. He's not, okay? The casual fan thinks it's going to be interesting because they're going to see Sean Porter try to muscle his way and be aggressive, and he's going to make it scrappy. And the uneducated fan thinks he's doing something effective. Don't get me wrong, Sean Porter, I like Sean Porter. He's a cool dude. He doesn't duck. He goes in there, he fights his ass off. He's got a football background. I can relate to that, coming from the University of Central Florida and then moving on to boxing. So power to him. I like him. He's a cool dude. But just speaking purely from the scientific aspect of boxing, it's not really impressive what he does. But he is a mauler. And I don't want to make it seem like he's a pure brawler, right? Because I have seen him box off the back foot, but it's not spectacular shit to watch. But nonetheless, he does have it in his game. What you got to understand about fighters like Sean Porter is that I do applaud him because he kind of brings an old school mentality to the sport that is kind of missing today. And he has overwhelmed some opponents, and why do I think that? Because I think that old school mentality is kind of fading. A guy like Adrian Broner can't deal with shit like that because he wants a fight to be clean, right? That's the thing. Sometimes it's easier to fight a very technically proficient boxer compared to a herky-jerky brawler type guy, right? Sometimes it's a lot easier to face a very good, technically proficient fighter as compared to a brawler who's kind of awkward and nonsensical in his rhythm and pace. Because it's nonsensical. There's no method to the madness. You can't really predict or calculate what they're doing because they're not really doing anything in a calculated manner. So it makes them hard to deal with. And some fighters, who are like Adrian Broner, they can't handle that. They don't know how to deal with that because it's just, he's undisciplined, he's not patient, and when he's presented with a guy like Maidana or Sean Porter, it's going to give him trouble. He's going to have his times. He's going to do some nice things in the fight. But he wants a fight to be clean. He doesn't, you got to think about guys like Sean Porter, right? They're almost like when you go out to the blacktop to play basketball, there's always that one guy, that very physical guy. He's not necessarily trying to be dirty or foul everybody, but he's just very clunky. And he's very he's aggressive. He's trying to get after it. And the game keeps on getting disrupted. There's fouls constantly, and there's no sort of rhythm or pace to the game. And that's Sean Porter to a T in boxing. And that's why he kind of, if you're a casual fan, you think he's making the fight interesting because he's making it messy. And if he does make it out 12 rounds, that's exactly why he's going to make it out 12 rounds. He's going to make it messy. He's not going to be doing anything effective, efficient. I think that style does work against a guy like fucking, Adrian Broner, or against guys who, don't have the ability to adjust and adapt. Look, I think he went the distance with Spence. You got to understand, Spence is one gear. He just comes forward, and those two were like two bulls, two rams, button heads, You can't always skin the cat, especially when you got a guy like that, by just butting heads with him. Sometimes you got to go through the back door, check if the door is open, and snatch their shit, right? Do it subtly. You can't always, like Andre Ward says, you can't always kick in the front door and go, boom, I'm here. And that's the thing with Crawford. I think he has many ways he can skin the cat. I think there's a good chance he can knock Porter out. I'm not saying that there isn't a chance that Porter can make it all 12, because once again, he's a very messy, awkward fighter. It's going to take a little time for Crawford. It might not, but it probably will take a little time for Crawford to kind of get the timing and the rhythm down. But once he gets that timing and rhythm down, he becomes a very sharp shooter. And the way Sean Porter moves, it's in feet, not inches. He'll jump from outside to inside real quick. He can get a little reckless at times. And I think a guy like Terence Crawford is going to expose that. Unfortunately, with Spence, once again, he's a one-gear fighter. He's constantly moving forward. He's one tempo, one pace. It's really good pace, right? Good tempo, good boxing style, and good tactics and strategy. But it's just, you know, it's two Rams butting their heads. And you can kind of get through that if you're Porter. But Bud, he's going to be constantly walking you into traps, setting you up, you know, setting up landmines. And Porter's probably going to get knocked down for the first time in his career, possibly even knocked out. And even if he does make it 12, it's not going to be an interesting 12, you guys. You know, just because he's being aggressive and throwing lots of punches doesn't mean he's landing, doesn't mean he's being efficient, doesn't mean he's being effective, doesn't mean he's winning the fight. Okay? So, I'm not going to say I'm going to be shocked if it goes 12 rounds because, like I said, Shawn Porter's an awkward fighter. But, you know, I think Bud will have the ability to get this guy out of here. I think he's going to get his timing down. And because he has that ability to counter you moving backwards, I believe he's going to catch Shawn Porter. I really do. I got to do a little bit more homework. I got to watch a little bit more of Shawn Porter and some of the things he does. Like I said, I did notice that he will go off the back foot at times. But, you know, let's get educated, folks. I know this conversation was kind of all over the place, but, you know, I just had to talk about some of this shit. The disrespect that was put on Crawford's name last night on a boxing channel was just ridiculous. You know, it was ridiculous. And the fact that people think that Porter is even on the same level of Crawford is ridiculous. Okay? Just understand, okay, just because he makes it 12 rounds with Crawford doesn't mean he was doing anything effective. He's just awkward. And guys like that are very difficult to kind of gauge and engage in an actual fight. So, tell me what you guys think. Comment down below, like the video. Once again, I know this was all over the fucking place, but there was kind of a lot of shit I wanted to talk about. Subscribe, y'all. If you subscribe, say it down below so you can encourage others to subscribe, man. Like I said, man, I'm trying to contribute to building this sport because it's still alive in my opinion and it can get better. And I'm here to give my best educated, you know, predictions and assessment of fighters and upcoming fights. And as long as I do that, I will never steer you guys wrong. But let's build this sport up. Let's build up our fighters. Let's be critical, but let's be critical in a way that's not ignorant, okay, or emotional. So, this is your boy Havoc. Get at me. Join the fam.